Oi.
Ja, oi.
Hello and welcome to Aftermath, Mirror Fighting's look back at the heavyweight exhibition fight between Mike Tyson and Roy Jones Jr. Yes, I am still going. It's now almost 7 a.m. In the UK, Tyson and Jones left the ring about an hour and a bit ago. It was a draw. Surprise, surprise. But that doesn't tell the story of the fight. Listen, we're not going to go into a detailed analytical review of a fight between two men, one of whom was 54 and one of whom is 51. But safe to say, Mike Tyson probably should have been given the nod. He was the better fighter. Roy Jones preferred to hold on and turn it into something of a hugging match throughout. Just before we continue, if you are watching, please do give the video a thumbs up. Please do subscribe to our YouTube channel and make it all worthwhile. So anyway, earlier on in Los Angeles, even Mike Tyson, having lost 100 pounds of weight for this fight, looked in much better shape than Roy Jones Jr., despite being 4 years older. Jones looked tired at the end of each 2-minute round. Probably because he was holding on and, trying to deal with the extra weight that Mike Tyson was putting on him. But when I spoke with my colleague Rich Jones on Boxing Tonight yesterday, we talked about what we wanted to come out of this fight. And really, I guess the outcome or the conclusion was that we wanted them both to come out safe and sound, no injuries, not to give boxing a bad name, etc., etc. And I think we probably got that, to be honest. I think we probably got as good a fight as we could have expected, as I said, against two guys. Tyson, who's been out for 15 years, Jones just for 2 years, but who towards the end of his career was, largely finished. Punch resistance was gone and really shouldn't still have been fighting. So we got the 8 rounds and both men walked away. I think two things that were, if we're going to take the fight seriously, then two things that are disappointing. One, Tyson should just have been given the victory. 3 scorecards read as follows. Christy Martin scored at 79-73 to Tyson, which was about right. Vinny Pazienza, 80-76 to Jones, which was just bonkers. I think someone told him what to do. And Chad Dawson finally scored at 76 apiece. Again, it just smells of pre-arranged scores, which gave the draw overall. But, who am I to cast aspersions? Tyson landed 67 punches over 8 rounds, over 16 minutes. Jones landed 37. And Tyson also outlanded 57-28 in power punches. I can't believe we've just gone through the CompuBox stats for this exhibition fight, but there you go. So the stats would suggest Tyson should have won, but it was a draw. And the second thing that's disappointing is that within minutes of finishing, both men talked about doing this again. Not necessarily together, not necessarily each other, but Tyson was very keen to say that, he wants to carry on. He said he wants to get Roy Jones on his undercard. And this is why he's created this Legends League, this Legends Only League, presumably so that he can fight fellow legends, which is fine. But hopefully what comes out of this one, which has been given the build-up, including by myself, including by everyone on Mirror Fighting, and we've covered it as probably we would normally cover a fight of any magnitude. Maybe now it's time just to take a step back. And if Mike Tyson wants to arrange exhibition fights, if Roy Jones Jr. wants to arrange exhibition fights and have a play around for 16 minutes, 8 rounds, then let's leave them to it. And let's definitely just actually leave them to it and just not take much notice. Definitely from a sort of psychological point of view for Mike Tyson, it's a good thing for him. He seems to have come back from a dark place after he retired professionally. So, of course, there are some positives. But I think the more serious you take the fight, the more disappointed you are when it ends up being predictably quite boring. These two middle-aged men, as good as they look, were never going to serve up a treat, especially coming 6 or 7 hours after we just watched Daniel Dubois against Joe Joyce. You can catch up with that fight on my other video, and also at Mirror Fighting, of course. But Daniel Dubois stopped in the 10th round by Joe Joyce. Just finally, on the Tyson Jones card, a quick look at the undercard, actually, and another talking point in the Jake Paul-Nate Robinson fight, which lasted just over a round. Now, Jake Paul had fought before once as a professional, when he beat a fellow YouTuber, Anis and Gibb, back in January in Miami. Nate Robinson hadn't fought at all. He was a former NBA player, 10 years in the NBA, I think. So, essentially, two complete novices. But at least Nate was an athlete. And so, again, unsure of what to expect. He came out the better, a bit more on the front foot. But as soon as Jake Paul connected with a right hand, Nate was in trouble. He went down. The first one was the right hand was largely to the back of the head, but still counted as a knockdown. The referee gave him quite a bit of time to recover, asked him if he was all right. He said he was. He carried on. Got to the end of that round. There were only 14 seconds left, I think, so he was all right. Second round, another right hand came in from Jake Paul. Down went Nate Robinson, and at that point, the fight should have been waved off. Again, he was given ample time, probably too much time to recover. He kept going, and in the next right hand, to be fair, I mean, of course, Nate Robinson was largely defenseless, but to be fair, Jake Paul landed the right hand square on the chin. Down Robinson went, and he was face down on the canvas for quite some time, needed lengthy treatment. It was a bad knockout. Now, if we'd seen that in a proper fight, and the punch had been well landed, just not defended particularly well, then we'd be saying knockout of the year. And hopefully Nate Robinson is okay. But because it was in a fight that really shouldn't be happening as a professional fight, in other words, with the small gloves, with the no head guards, then that's really the talking point that should come out of this card, I think, is that these fights really should cease. If YouTube stars, if former professional athletes want to fight, then stick them in the white collar with the head guards and the bigger gloves. It's good enough for the rest of us, so it can be good enough for them. Turning them into professionals, even for a night, it's just at some point it's going to go badly wrong, and it could have been tonight. As I say, Robinson was down 3 times, twice of them looked bad, including the final one, which was bad. No more, please. No more. Again, if the legends want to carry on, let's do it, but let's stop the YouTube boxing. Also on the undercard, Badou Jack won every round against a guy whose name I have forgotten, I will be honest. He was poor, levels below the former 2-weight world champion, McCarnan. That was his surname anyway. But Badou Jack should have really got him out of there. But in the end went the 8 rounds, won every round. Remains to be seen whether he has anything left really in a professional game, whether he can go back on. He wants to become a 3-weight world champion up at cruiserweight, but I would suggest his best days are Blake McLaren. That's the name. There you go. I haven't had any sleep, you see. So, Badou Jack, we'll see. I'm sure he'll come again in some way, shape, or form, hopefully. I mean, Jake Paul probably wants to call it KSI. I think in the post-fight press conference, he said he's a new Floyd Mayweather. I don't even know where to begin with that. His brother, Logan Paul, is supposed to be fighting Floyd Mayweather in some sort of pretend fight at some point next year. Listen, boxing at its best is fantastic. And as I said, tonight we saw Daniel Dubois and Joe Joyce put everything on the line. 2 unbeaten heavyweights. A lot to lose on both sides. And Daniel Dubois has lost a lot tonight. Those are the fights that we should be talking about this Sunday. Not Mike Tyson, Roy Jones. Certainly not Jake Paul, Nate Robinson. But there I have, just done it for 10 minutes. So make of that what you will. But thank you for watching. Please do, as I said, give the video a thumbs up. Please do subscribe to our channel. I'll be back tomorrow on Monday with George Groves and Declan Taylor with After the Bell for a proper look at Joe Joyce, Daniel Dubois. We'll probably touch on Mike Tyson, and then we'll look ahead to all the action next weekend. And I hope you can join us tomorrow and in the future. Thanks for tuning in.